everybody. Welcome back to Event About It, Dynamic Dialogue After Show. I'm your host, Megan Martin, and I'm here with Mark Kilens. Quick reminder for our audience before we dive in. Mark is currently the VP of Marketing at Easy Llama and founder of Tech. He's previously was CMO at AirMeet. Before that, he was VP of Content and Community at Drift, where he led the brand, content, creative, and events team and oversaw Drift's 65,000 person community. Holy cow. Prior to joining Drift, he served as VP of Marketing and founder of HubSpot Academy, which is one of the best inbound strategies to follow. I think HubSpot pretty much wrote the game on that. Their academy is amazing. Definitely want to check that out. And when he's not working, he enjoys plenty of steak, lobsters, a round of golf or two, and loves being on snow or in the ocean. So little fun facts about Mark. Obviously, if you're a golf lover, the Masters was just not that long ago. Congratulations to Rory on his huge accomplishment. Did you ever think he would do it?
I did. And I did feel like this year was going to be his year because he's been playing so well. That was really cool, really special.
It was really special to watch. I'm not really a golf player. I mean, I have clubs and will play sometimes, so I wouldn't say I'm a golfer by any means, but it was a really, really great Masters to watch this year.
Yeah.
All right.
No, too bad he gave us that, like, you could say, what's the right word? I mean, there was definitely tension, but thrilling finish. I wish he kind of just didn't have to go through that to some degree.
Yeah, same. We were all on pins and needles. He kept it interesting for sure. All right, two things right off the top of that. I've been wanting to pick your brain about both of these. So first one, we talked about in our prep call a little bit about the future of event platforms and marketing tech. You know, there were some developers who built a registration system with AI coding in about 5 minutes. So every event registration company should be shaken in their boots because it happened quickly. It wasn't great, but like they did it in 5 minutes. So where do you think the future of event platforms go, especially with events being tied closer and closer to business objectives? More than ever, we're having this event-led growth conversation. And what does that mean for the martech and event tech stack?
It's a very good question. So much to unpack and think about. To me, it's going to be an intersection of the software and this type of hardware, or maybe a new type of hardware. I'm still like befuddled at like how a lot of, especially in B2B, maybe B2C is a bit better, companies haven't figured out how to take the online experience or like the laptop desktop experience of registering on your phone and then translate that to what you should use your phone for at the event, or, you know, before, during, or after the event, the actual in-person event. It just is like, I mean, do you know of a solution that's really figured that out? First off, Megan? Like,
No.
So
and if I have to download one more event app, like, God love it, there's some great event apps out there, but I'm tired of downloading things on my phone, and the push notifications are getting noisy because they're all sponsored now. Like, I think there's a huge opportunity for disruption in the event and especially the marketing side of things. Like, I love that so many platforms are now integrating with like Salesforce and HubSpot, but the issue I have with it is on the company side, those departments are so siloed. Like, me as the event person doesn't necessarily have access to the side of HubSpot in a large organization or Salesforce, you know, whatever your CRM is. And then you have to have another analyst who like gets into the data unless you're using a third-party system that integrates, you know, your marketing, your sales, your event stuff. You know, it's a lot more complicated than just like, oh, we have an integration. And I'm not sure people have quite figured out that life cycle journey of like events, marketing, sales yet.
Yeah. So there's two things here. There's like the front end experience for like the event attendee, registrant, and then also the people producing the event. And then you were just saying kind of more the back office, back end experience, right? So I've heard it referred to as backstage versus front stage. And the front end experience, like why doesn't companies just use what Apple and Google have in their platforms right now, which is the native app for tickets and credit cards, right? Like, just that is what, no more apps from event companies. Just use that as a way to track these sessions, the events you go to, et cetera, and then feed that into one overall system that is much more from a backstage, setup based off of like, really an agentic workflow system. So there's a registration agent, there's an attendee agent, there's a session agent, there's a CRM integration agent, right? Like I think that is the future because so many people in the event space spend way too much time optimizing and managing the actual software. And it's completely like distracting them in many ways from thinking through a better event experience. And also, if you're able to collect better information throughout, to your point, the event lifecycle of an attendee, then the event planner manager will be able to do more agile event creation and management. That's the other thing that's plaguing event people today. I think it's not very agile enough, and it's not using the feedback that's coming in from registration and attendees in real time to make changes. So yeah, those are some of the things I'm excited about, and there is going to be 100% to your point, an AI first event company probably in the next 12 months that breaks out of the scene. That all these more like traditional event companies should be pretty scared of.
And what do you think that system would look like? If you right now were buying a marketing event system that kind of solved all the problems, what would that system look like for you?
Percent conversational, number one. Forget forms. I can't believe we're still talking about forms in the event space. It's just a matter of time. You're going to use a chat GPT for events. Like, that could be just the positioning. Chat GPT for events. It's someone's building it. It's got to be. Like, I don't understand why it hasn't shipped yet, honestly. But that's like one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is it's gonna be all in one. They're not. It's gonna take some time to be all in one. There's not gonna be like a super long tail of point solutions. There's gonna be a HubSpot for events, no doubt. And maybe people say that's Cvent. I don't know Cvent well enough, but it doesn't seem like that's Cvent.
It's not Cvent. Yeah, it's definitely. I agree completely. I'm ready for it because it's been time. And I even saw a large event tech company, registration company, push out like, oh, we solved networking. And it's like, here's recommendations based on people who like the same things that you like. Well, it doesn't really facilitate the conversation. Like I still have to reach out. I still have to do something. Like put me in a room with all those other people. Like take the tech and make it real life. And so it kind of frustrated me a little bit when they were like, we solved the networking problem at events. Be like, no, you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. You finally caught up. Congratulations.
Yeah, they need a networking agent, an agent that actually learns a lot about you and each attendee and is proactively in real time, depending on who's at the event. Like, hey, I can tell that you're actually at the event. Did you know, based off your calendar, you have some downtime? So does this person. Do you want to meet up? Like, that is pretty cool. Like, that is a
Correct.
moment in time that is coming. Yeah, because the networking today isn't real time. It's very like one dimensional. It's like transactional. It's not personalized. It's the whole thing needs to change.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the content too. Like people go first for networking. Number two is always content. And we kind of talked in the podcast about like you have to offer things you can't Google, you can't search that are not on YouTube at your events. Like that's the captive content people want. And so much of the agendas are like, here's the track, here's things we think you're going to like, all within a single topic. But like, I want to know if someone went to this session, where else should I be going? Like, what am I not thinking about? And those are the sessions I should be going to. Not like, I said I like this, but I went to that. So tell me what else I should be going to.
I love that example. Yeah, like a little bit of like the psychological FOMO, but also at the same time, being this like assistant for each attendee. Each attendee should have their own event assistant for the pre-event, during the event, and post-event. I don't think that exists either right now.
It does not. But AI can solve all of that. Like it's like you said, it's only a matter of time. I think in the event tech world, the marketing tech world for events specifically is going to look very different a year from now, especially with all these AI agents. And
Sure
I
hope
hope
so.
it's true. I hope it's true. Okay. You posted on LinkedIn recently, and this completely sparked my interest because I have a lot of tools. I have an operating system for myself. So talk to us about your personal operating system. What is that? What does it look like for you?
So yeah, it doesn't start with tools. Tools help. Like the first thing you should always think about when it comes to the strategy and process that is kind of the right thing or the assumed right way or thing to use or do, and then maybe figure out the tools that need to kind of support that or be part of it. So the first thing you got to think about when you think about your personal operating system is like, what is the rhythm of your week, month, quarter, year? Do you want a personal operating system that's going to help you operate on an annual basis, and then also a quarterly, monthly, and daily basis? Do you just want to start with like a weekly kind of operating system? And yeah, you probably do not want to just try to build the whole thing from scratch. Like,
I think that's
I have
just
a
good advice on everything. Like, don't do it all at once.
yeah, like don't build the annual one that also has like the quarterly, monthly, etc. Like start probably with the weekly to monthly one that is about how am I going to feel like I am in control of each of my days, my week, and my month, so that I'm doing the right things for the right like reasons. Like, and this starts with like really thinking through and reflecting on um and being introspective on like your why. Like, why are you doing what you're doing today? Why are you doing what you're doing today to get to someplace else in the future? And what have you done in the past to get you to this point? And what have you learned about those things? And what are like good, bad, and different about the things? So it first just starts with like reflection. And if you don't spend time reflecting every day, your personal operating system, the building process starts with that. So you got to reflect.
I think that's
um,
the one piece people miss, and you see this a lot in like big entrepreneurs talking a lot about reflecting and going back, like every month, every 6 weeks, every quarter, whatever you set for yourself, where they write down, a goal, objective, whatever you want to call it, accomplishments, and then they go back, okay, what did I learn? Why didn't I hit it? Why did I hit it? And then how do I make this a repeatable process? I think reflection is probably what gets missed most.
yeah, and as part of my personal operating system, I try to reflect every day. It's not as easy now with 3 young kids, but definitely every week I reflect. And I also then visualize the week ahead. So those are some like pointers. Once you start to kind of understand the why, you can start to think through like, well, how do I want to design my operating system to help me get to my goals? So you need to have, like, to your point, some kind of goals in the future, probably 6 to 12 months. It could be monetary, it could be development wise, it could be um, purchasing wise, it could be fulfillment wise, it could be all of those things. But you need to have some type of goal structure, and that's a way to measure and, like, to your point, how to help you reflect with context. But like, you need to like reflect each day or each week at a minimum, and you need to then like visualize each week. So something that my wife and I do every Sunday is we visualize the week ahead. So for my personal operating system and hers, our calendar is kind of like the brain of it. Like my calendar, people like look at my calendar like, how is your calendar booked from 7 to 7 every day? Like no free blocks. I'm like, well, that's how I run my life. She's like, that's it. Like, so you block your entire calendar off for everything? I'm like, yep, everything. Like, that seems insane. I'm like, well, yeah, but if you don't do that, for me at least, distraction can creep in, right? And like, sure, things are going to
Idle
change.
hands.
What's that?
I call it idle hands.
Yeah. I mean, I do have a specific time for downtime, and sometimes that shifts throughout the week. But like, and I haven't found a great tool to do this. Some people use another person to help them manage their calendar. It's all about your own self-discipline. You have to ask yourself, going back to reflection, how disciplined am I?
Yes.
Can I hold myself accountable? And can I regulate what I need to do to make this operating system work for me? And some people, they can, and that's fine. You just need to rely on someone else, like a VA or an EA, or maybe more AI type tools or whatever. But like, that's an important question when it comes to building your personal operating system.
No, I love that. Well, it kind of goes into my next question about the people first GTM is all very human centric, right? How do we deliver value? How do we talk about value? How do we help other people? It's sort of the core of people first GTM. But where it gets tricky is when you relay that into business. Businesses want to see results. They're data driven. We all live on a dashboard. Everybody loves a dashboard, how to measure what we're doing. How do you measure human connection in this very data driven world when you're looking at a people first system?
Well, so the people first GTM is made up of 7 different growth strategies, and each growth strategy that's part of it is very measurable. So The first one that's like the center of the whole thing is partner-led growth. So you can measure how many relationships am I building? What's the status of those relationships? How many have turned into partnerships? What's the value of those partnerships? What have the partnerships done for the business, new business side, customer retention, expansion, product development, right? So you can measure all of that. You just got to build the right partner model for you to measure the effectiveness of your partnerships and the relationships. Every business is going to look at that differently. Some businesses will go as far as to create an ecosystem map of all the people, places, and brands that should be part of your partner-led growth motion. We have some content on that in TAC Insider, but like that's the one that's in the center. Then there's 6 more that surround it, and each of them, from event-led growth, content-led growth, product-led growth, those are all very measurable. And then community-led growth, that gets a little bit more of the people, which is like the rented or unowned places that you should be engaging in, participating in, listening. So that's everything from like the followers to subscribers to the engagement to the level of engagement to what is that engagement doing and is it converting and all this other stuff. And then you have member-led growth and customer-led growth. All of those are measurable. And the key is to say, first, again, before measuring anything, what do I sell? Who do I sell it to? And what are the ambitions for my business over the next 1 year and then 3 years? And then you have to start to think through, based off of like who I sell to, my ambitions and my competitors and the general market, how do I design a go-to-market strategy to fit into that? And that's not easy. That's why, traditionally people just call this a business plan or a marketing strategy or business strategy. It is that. Like I think it's something that they don't really teach. They do teach it, but they don't teach it in modern ways in school. And even the people that teach it online think things are changing so fast. That's why you always have to be consuming a kind of like new information about what's happening and changing, because so much is changing at once right now. So going back to that and how you measure things, you got to pick one thing to start, right? You don't like build something great, overnight. You take time and you take multiple steps and sequence things. So what's the one thing outside of partner-led growth? Partner-led growth is just, you have to use it as part of people first go to market. Outside of partner-led growth, which is the one thing you're going to really focus on, that you maybe are doing today or that you think you should be doing, and then just start measuring that. And I'm happy to give examples if you want to go down that path, but that's how I would think about it. So you first have to study, those different growth motions so you can understand them so that you can measure them too.
Yeah, no, I love that. And what do you think's the biggest mistake companies make when they say that they're customer centric? Because I see this word get thrown around a lot, especially by companies that I don't think are very customer centric. So what do you think the biggest mistake is people are making when they start saying like, we're customer first?
I mean, one is like they're not investing in user experience research, customer experience research, and they're actually not partnering with their customers to build their product roadmap, execute their product strategy, go to market, and bring new products to market, like with their customers. If they're not doing that, I mean, the simple answer is like, they're not doing the right activities to match to what they're saying with their customer first, right? Yeah, then there's all the smaller stuff, right? It's like, they don't have transparent pricing. They make you go through hoops to try to figure out the pricing. That's insane. They don't have a way for you to kind of like see value before you buy. I mean, in some cases that might not be 100% needed, but at a minimum, they don't let you see the product before you actually have to talk to someone, which is also insane in my opinion. It's like, going to a car dealership and you have to talk to a car salesperson for, say, like an hour before they let you test drive a car. That would be insane. That'd be insane. Like, so like, anyway, like it's just stuff like that. There's hundreds and hundreds of examples of like, what doesn't make someone customer first, at least in my opinion. But you really have to think about yourself as like the consumer, the buyer, and ask yourself, how easy am I making it for someone to ultimately become a customer? And in some cases and in some industries, you want friction, and you might even want more than some friction, because that's how you establish trust. A classic example of that is banking. If a bank doesn't have you go through some points of friction to create an account or to like transfer money to do other things, it's actually kind of sketchy, because you're like, wait a minute, like this seems too easy. Like I need more friction here to feel comfortable with this transaction, right? So there's cases where you want a little bit more, but you really want to keep it pretty streamlined in the sense of like, how do I start to get into the product, see the value of the product, and then ultimately, can I make it really easy to buy that thing?
Oh, I love that. And a healthy friction, I think, is not always a bad thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think there's a term called like negative friction too. Um, that plays into this. I don't know that term too well, but I've definitely read about it, which I think is kind of the example of healthy friction.
Yeah, I like that. What's one buzzword you think marketers need to leave behind in 2025?
Alignment. I hate the term alignment. I'm so sick of alignment. Just did a post about this as well, and it's about uniting your teams, not aligning. Like aligning is not good enough, and we've tried to align and it doesn't work. You need to truly unite them with the same go to market strategy across all three GTM teams plus your product team. And you need to have your go to market Bible, if you will, of all the definitions, all the processes, all of the same reporting that is used to measure how the business is working. That is being united. Oh yeah, we're aligned on like who we're going after, but we're using different reporting. That's not alignment. And that's where alignment fails, actually. That's a classic example of alignment failure. So yeah, I think you got to be united.
Yeah, it goes back to our earlier conversation on the future of event tech is it's united tech, in my opinion, because that's where event people sort of get siloed and then the marketers do this and then the salespeople do this and the event people do this and they're not united in the strategy and that, we talk about customer life cycle and customer journey. We have to think about it, attendee journey. It starts with marketing and goes to event operations and then an event analyst and looking at the data and how do we do this, that's all a united system and they're very siloed when it comes to organizations.
Yes. Yeah. The more like, again, sometimes handoffs are good and that friction is good and fine, but like, yeah, the handoffs, the siloed interactions and teams, just man, it's bad.
Yeah, I see event people all the time, like the sales team didn't even know why we needed those leads. They're not even scanning anything. So I can't prove that my event was worth it. And I'm like, okay, well, find another way for your attributions and like help them understand why that's important for them too. And they're like, well, sales didn't convert, so the event didn't do anything. It's like, well, let's think a little bigger here.
Yeah. I
Have to be
mean,
united.
you gotta plan, just as a quick aside, you have to plan your events up front with the sales team. If you're an event
Yes.
planner right now listening and you don't involve at least one or two sales stakeholders from the inception of the event starting to be created, I actually think you're doing it wrong. I'll just, yeah.
I mean, I think that whether it's an owned event or a trade show at someone else's event or even just a roundtable or road show, I mean, sales, marketing, and event people all have to be united. I mean, that's the only way to make it truly successful, and you have to do it from the beginning. So, what's something you did at Drift or HubSpot or AirMe that would never fly in today's marketing landscape?
I've always been pretty, you could say, out there with some of these ideas, thoughts. Like we were very big on LinkedIn Drift, thanks to Dave Gerhardt in many ways, way before anyone else was. We were way ahead of the curve at HubSpot with how we thought about education and training and content creation and delivery with video. That's a tough question to answer. Would not fly. I mean, definitely at HubSpot, a good example is like gated content. I do not do gated content. And even Drift, we still kind of did that, which was not great given like some of our narrative and whatnot. But you don't want to get your content. Like, I think the best example will be just like, have the whole thing ungated and then on that page have an option for them to take the PDF to go. And most people, not most, but a good amount of people, anywhere from 20 to 40% of the people who visit that page, this is what I have seen, will ask for the PDF to go, which is still, that's good lead gen. That is
Yeah.
good, qualified lead gen probably. So just do that, right? Versus, gating your content. I mean, webinars is a little bit different because you got to add it to their calendar. So I think asking for the email is okay, but I'm still waiting for a system where it's like, you can become a member and, it knows who you are, it knows your email, and you just click a button to sign up for the webinar and it adds you to the email sequence that should go out and also adds that to your calendar. Like that's still, there's some examples of that. Like Circle and a few of these community platforms, kind of do that, Mighty Networks. But in B2B, it's really uncommon to see. We're still just asking too many times for email. And like same with events, right? I'm sure you're thinking about this. Like, why are we asking for the
Yes.
same information over and over again to all these events?
And then we don't even do anything with any of the information. We ask them to fill out 30, like, oh my gosh, I saw one client recently that you had to pick all of your sessions at the time of registration. Well, I don't know what session I want to go to 5 months from now or even 2 weeks from now. And I have to go through like 3 pages of sessions to pick what I'm doing before I can even register. Like, talk about abandoned cart. I was like, do I even really want to go to this conference? Like, it was rough. It was real rough.
That's tough.
Well,
That's not
yeah.
good.
Yeah. We're using a GTM model, people first, content, whichever. What part of when you're looking at that and you're deciding like, this is how we're going to go forward, what parts of GTM do you think get ignored that should be paid attention to? And which parts get a ton of attention that maybe aren't as important as people think?
The who. Not enough people spend enough time really confirming and understanding and uniting around the who. Who are we creating this campaign for? Who are we going? Who is this GTM strategy or motion being built for? Who is this event being built for? Not enough time and focus and understanding of the who.
I would agree. I mean, it goes back to the why. Why do we do anything in the first place? And who are we doing it for?
Yeah. I mean, the why definitely, but I think people definitely focus on the why a lot. And actually, the inverse of that, I don't think, and this is part of the event-led growth model I created, they don't focus enough on like, why would the people you're doing this thing for, you think with the why in the context of your business. Hey, yeah, why are we doing this event? We need leads or we need meetings or whatever. But why would they go to this event? Why would they recommend this event? Why would they come back to this event? We don't spend enough time thinking about that either.
Oh, I absolutely love that. All right, time for 2 quick last questions. What's a hill you'll die on when it comes to GTM and events?
The storytelling. Like, we do not use storytelling enough or in the right ways when it comes to a lot of these GTM strategies and motions, but then even at events. Like, they don't like plan, like, what's the thematic story and what are you trying to get people to remember and feel and talk about after this event? Right. So like storytelling is huge. And then I think the partnership one, like if you are not creating and cultivating partnerships and using that as a way to find and acquire and retain customers, like you're just doing it wrong, straight up.
Yeah, I agree. If it's funny to me, I had a conversation with someone recently in the corporate world, the SaaS world, partnerships is called the channel. Like that's just the vernacular they call it. But in the events world, we don't call partnerships the channel selling. Like, I don't know why we use different terms in the event world than the rest of the world, but for whatever reason, the event world does not call it the channel. Everyone else calls it, the channel selling.
Well, that's a huge reason why it's got a really not negative, but it's got a bad positioning and messaging framing problem. That's what partnerships do. That's why it's like partner like growth. Like you actually, this is another thing I'll die on, like networks versus channels every day. Like networks first, then you think about the channels you can use to activate that network. And the networks are either people, places, or brands. And like in B2B, we have this really wrong way that I think we think about partnerships in many cases. And it's not a channel. Like,
I agree. I'm not sure why that term came about, but especially in the event world, that's so relationship driven and sales are so relationship driven and the sales cycles can get long because of relationships. And yet we don't leverage that in a good way because it does have this like icky connotation to it. And I don't know why, because we do all sell through relationships in the events world. We buy through relationships in the event world. I don't know why. Like, hopefully one day we can change that because I think they're very valuable from the buyer and seller perspective and should be leveraged, ultimately in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Agreed. All right. Last question. Complete this sentence. If your event strategy doesn't blank by Q4, you're not ready for what's next.
I'll give you this one. Because I was thinking there's like monetary ones and more budget planning ones. I will say if your event planning, your strategy doesn't involve your customers in it, like in the actual planning and execution of your events, yeah, you're gonna continue to struggle, because customers, especially if you can identify the true advocates and then the champions, are like a massive unlock for your go to market, but definitely events too.
Agreed. I don't think we see enough customers talking about it. We don't see enough testimonials about, I got this out of this event, that's why you should join me next time. We don't do that enough. And
No,
that goes
not
back to your storytelling too. Like, we don't tell enough stories about our events of why people come and what they get out of it and why you should join them.
yeah, we haven't taken this idea of event-led growth plus customer-led growth, which just starts with the identification of not just even customers, just like amazing attendees who just come back over and over again. If it's more of an industry event or trade show, or if the event allows non-customers to attend, like the attendees that are like super passionate advocates, etc. Identify those, and then do the customers too, and like infuse all of that, to your point, in how you produce and market and sell that event.
Yeah, agreed. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.